Good day, dear children. How are you? To my mind, you are fine. Let's start our lesson. The theme of the lesson is Britain in the 1960s. Let's know about the Britain's life in 1960s. Now you have watched a video. Let's listen to the text.
Track 3.9 The Swinging Sixties.
Life in Britain after the Second World War wasn't easy. During the 1940s, food was rationed, which meant that people could only buy small amounts of food, such as butter, meat, and sugar. Clothes were also rationed until 1949 because there wasn't enough material to produce new ones. However, at the start of the 1960s, things started to change. Rationing had ended in 1954, and by the end of the decade, the economy was recovering. There were plenty of jobs and more goods in the shops than ever before. There was a general mood of hope and optimism in the country, and this increased when England won the Football World Cup for the first time in 1966. Britain had become a vibrant and exciting place and the centre of a new film culture. Julie Christie won an Oscar for her performance in Darling, and British filmmakers had huge success with films like Lawrence of Arabia and 2001: A Space Odyssey. The 60s was also the decade when film became more realistic and showed certain aspects of British life for the first time. People who had hard lives and struggled to survive. At the same time, in 1962, the first James Bond film showed a less realistic view of life that helped audiences fantasize about heroes and villains and escape their everyday lives. There was also a revolution in British music in the 1960s. American rock and roll had dominated the music scene in the 1950s, but suddenly, the Beatles, a band from Liverpool, became the latest craze. Wherever they went, there was hysteria, which people called Beatlemania. People screamed so loudly at their concerts that they could hardly hear the music. Beatlemania reached the USA too. When the Beatles sang live on TV there in 1964, around 74 million viewers watched. That was about half of the population. The 1960s became known in Britain as the swinging 60s, a time when the country was at the centre of the world for fashion, pop music and culture.
Now children, let's do exercise 3. Read the text again and answer the questions. What did rationing mean for people? How many times had England won the Football World Cup before 1966? What was Julie Christie famous for? How did British films change in 1960s? Which famous spy film series started in the 1960s? What did some people do at the Beatles concerts? Did people in the USA like the Beatles? How do you know? Now you can check the answer key. Okay, that's right. Your home task is give a presentation about a famous decade in your country. Work in groups of 3 or 4 and list a few important events which took place during a famous decade in your country. Make notice about the following popular music types of music, bands, singers, fashion trends, new technology, and TV programs. Famous people, political and social changes. Now students, the lesson is over. Goodbye. Thank you for watching and listening.